Guys, Rideshare guy here, and today I've got a video for you with my number one rule for new Uber drivers. And don't worry, I'm not going to hold the suspense too long. The number one rule that I have is don't chase the surge. So if you guys are a new driver, you've probably seen those driver maps when you log in and you've seen all that red, right? Now, the darker the red you see, the more surge. And often when new drivers start, they're pretty tempted. They know that when they go to that surge zone, they're going to make more, right? Wrong. So that's actually the number one mistake I see that new drivers are making all the time. So if you guys are an experienced driver, you've been around for a few months, you probably realize that by now. And I want to make a quick video to tell new drivers that this is a mistake I see all the time. And it's tempting. I understand. I used to do the same thing. But once you kind of get the hang of things, and in this video, I'll kind of explain why it doesn't make sense to chase a surge, but it rarely pays off. And honestly, generally isn't worth it. And we have some data behind it, and I can talk a little bit about that. So what I mean is when you guys see a surge out on the map, you actually don't want to drive there. What surge is really good for, it's good at redistributing drivers. So if you have a bunch of drivers on the south side of the city, for example, right? And you have one driver on the north side, guess what? That north side of the city might be surging. It might be red. And that indicates to other drivers that, hey, come drive here, right? But what happens as those drivers from the south side start going to the north side? Let's say 2 or 3 of them decide to go up there. They notice on the map, north side of the city surging. All right, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to see if I can get some rides. The surge starts to go down, right? Because surge is based off passenger demand and driver supply. So if there's not very many drivers, obviously it's gonna, it'll most likely surge, right? As drivers start to go and fill in on that area, then surge starts to go down. So, it's a little, we obviously don't know both sides of the puzzle, but that's kind of the basics about what it means, how it works. And since Uber is, another reason why you don't want to chase a surge is frankly because since Uber is constantly hiring so many new drivers, they always see this surge. And I can guarantee if you think back, even if you are an experienced driver, you think back to when you first started and you saw that surge, I bet you chased it just like I did when I was at first being a new driver, right? Because it's tempting. You see that, hey, I want to see that surge and I want to go make more money, right? So you have a lot of new drivers who are always going after that surge. And by the time they get there, it's either going down because, now drivers are being redistributed and the supply of drivers is going up, which means surge goes down. So that's really how you have to think about it. The surge works really well as a tool for redistribution, but it doesn't work that great for drivers. Now, obviously, if you're already in a surge zone, you don't need to do anything. You can go sit there and hopefully you'll get a request and make money. But that also leads to another point, right? Because I've been in areas before where it's high surge, 2, 3, 4x, and I'm not getting a single request. And to be honest, I still don't fully understand how that's always possible, but I guess that it's because there's no drivers available, right? If I'm only one of the only drivers available, even if passenger demand isn't that high, since the surge algorithm is made up by passenger demand and driver supply. If driver supply is low, and passenger demand is low, you could still surge. I would suspect that if passenger demand is really low and supply of drivers is really high, that's when it doesn't surge, right? So that's kind of what I talked about a little earlier. And then, kind of that being said, there are times though where it does make sense to chase a surge, and it's when it's those predictable surges, right? I mean, the most obvious one is when the bars close, right? When the bars close, that area is going to surge. If you see that, it's, for example, here in California, the bars close at 2 o'clock, but usually it's a little earlier, closer to 1:30 is when they kind of cut off the last round, call for last round and last round of drinks. Everyone has to get out. Sometimes they even kick them out earlier than that. And so that, hey, at 1:30, it typically starts surging. Maybe it usually goes up to 2 or 3x. And then at that point, it's a waiting game, so you can drive over to that area. And that's when it's going to make sense to kind of chase a surge. Think about it like for those big events, for those kind of like sustainable surges where you have a ton of people. And even though a bunch of drivers go over there, the passenger demand is going to so greatly outweigh driver supply, that it's going to be a sustained surge. So you can spend 10 or 20 minutes driving all the way over there because you might get a long ride on surge. That's when it really makes sense to chase a surge. And I think that you can actually go and make some pretty good money. Now, chasing the surge, this is a topic that I actually cover in my video course. So if you're interested in learning some more about that, that, definitely take a look, check it out. Let me know what you think. We'll leave a link below. So I'm curious to know, do you guys agree with me? What do you think about chasing the surge? Is there stuff that's even more important for new Uber drivers? Or maybe there's even a few situations where you found that it does make sense. I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Really look forward to hearing from you guys. All right, take care.